Yay! Today we are going to talk about batched writes in Firebase's Firestore database. Now, what is a batch write? Just to be real quick about it. Well, whenever you want to save multiple items in your database at the same time, so if one of them fails, you don't want to save the other, that's a batch write. And today we are going to start from scratch and we are going to learn about that. Now, if you like this tutorial and this teaching style, go ahead and check out rebeloper.com/mentoring, where you can meet me on a one-on-one Zoom call. Go ahead and check it out. Escape tutorial help, rebeloper.com/mentoring. Now, batch write, we are going to create a brand new Xcode project. So create a new project, next, and batched write demo. Okay, let's click on next right over there. And I'm just going to drop it onto the desktop. Now, if you are not interested in learning how to set up a Firebase project, then just skip along this video to the exact part when we are going to talk about the batch writes. But I highly recommend that you do stick around and go through the video, because I'm going to talk about how we are going to show you how to create amazing batch writes. So first of all, yeah, let's create our Firebase project. So let me just grab my bundle identifier. Let's click on the plus right over here. And let's go to Firebase. Go to console. Let's create a new project. Just paste it in there and just remove the unnecessary stuff. Let's hit continue. I don't need Google Analytics for this tutorial. And until this loads, I'm just going to tell you the plan. Well, we are going to have categories. And for those categories, we are going to have items inside those categories. Now, why do we need batch writes? Well, I also want to present all of the count of all the items when I fetch a category. So whenever I'm going to actually save an item for a specific category, I'm also going to update simultaneously the category document too. And for any reason, any of those two fails, the whole operation will fail, which is great because I don't want to bump up the count number on the category document while I did not save any new item. So that is the plan. That is kind of the basics of it. It's a really self-explanatory, really short example, but it's a good example for a batched write. So let's just register our app and then download our config file, download, and let's just add that to our project right over there on the root folder. Remember that. And by the way, if you're interested in anything more Firebase, go ahead and check out the link in the description for the whole playlist. This is an ongoing massive playlist for Firebase. So let's just add the SDK as a package. Let's click on plus over here and then just have, up to next major version. That's fine. Let's add the package. And for this particular example, Firestore is just good enough. We're just going to use Firestore for this. We don't need authentication. Again, if you do want to learn about that, go ahead and check out the playlist. I have sign in with email and password. I have sign in with Apple, and a new one is coming for sign in with Google. So if you want to check that out, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Yes, so let's just go and select Firebase, Firestore, and also Firebase, Firestore Swift, because I like all of the handy Swift specific helpers over there. Okay, let's click on next and let's add our app delegate file so we can just configure our project. Let's create a new file, Swift file. That's what we want. And then I'm going to copy out the code that's given to us right over there, just pasting it instead of the foundation import, and maybe Control I while everything is selected so we can indent it that properly, and then copy out this one line of code, put it into the app file, basically just making sure that the app delegate is being started. And then let's click on next, go to console and enable the Firestore database that can be found under the build. Let's just go to Firestore database. Let's just wait for this. And then we are going to basically create a new Firestore database. What you need to know, I always tell this, you make sure that the location is set to where you think the majority of your users are, because after you set this, it cannot be modified. And then I'm just going to start in test mode. For the tutorial purposes is just perfect. Like we will have a read and write access to the database 30 days from today, which is fine. That's great. Okay. So yeah, now we are done. We can start working on the project. So let me just select one of the devices. Let's just build and run, because that will just take a little bit of time, and we want to make sure that everything went okay. Till this builds, let's start building out our models. So we are going to have two models basically. Build test succeeded, which is great. Let's click on next, and that would be a category. And the other one will be an item. So Swift file, next item. Let's create that. And let's see if it started loading. Yes. There we go. And we should see a nice hello world right over here. Yeah, it will just load. I'm building this for the first time because, it takes a little while, as you can see. But here we go. Everything works as expected. No error warnings whatsoever. So the category, let's create a struct. And that will be a category. It needs to be identifiable because I want to put it into, for each, inside the list. And it needs to be also, for now identifiable is just fine. Let's just add it codable, because I'm just going to encode and decode the values when I'm saving to Firebase. So yeah, identifiable and codable. Now for the identifiable, I am going to add, let's just import. Well, first of all, we want to import Swift UI for the identifiable part. And then I want to import, not image, import Firebase Firestore. And with Firebase Firestore, there's a document ID, var ID of type optional string. Now, what this will do, first of all, it will make the category identifiable, not vet, but var. It will make it identifiable. And also, this ID will not be saved on your database to clutter everything. So this is really, really nice. Next up, we want to have maybe a title, var title, and that would be of type string, optional. And basically that would be it. Oh, and one final thing. I want to also add a UID. So I want to have this linked to the items too. So when I fetch the items, I'm going to fetch according to this category's UID. And again, that will be an optional string. Now, let's just create a custom initializer so I don't have to create this all the time. Basically, what we are going to have, well, we don't need the ID, that's for sure. That's already being taken care of. And also for the UID, that's fine with nil. Now for the title, I am going to have just random string. So UUID string. We don't really care. We're just going to have these set up. Now, what about the item? Well, the item will have an owner UID, that is the category's UID. So I'm just going to copy most of this out. Well, all of this out, and it will stay mostly the same. That's what I was trying to tell you. So we have the item, the UID title, and we also have, let's duplicate this, the owner UID, which is basically the category UID. Let's just call it category, why not? Category UID. And for the category UID, we are also going to have of type string optional equals Yeah, because we are going to set all of this up later on. So then self dot category UID equals category UID. So yeah, basically that's what we are going to have. Let's just create the paths. So, I don't like stringly type paths. So let's create those because I do know that we are going to have categories and items. So let's do that. So path, and it will be a simple struct called path. Inside that, let's just have another struct of Firestore. I like to have inside the path Firestore struct because yeah, we might have also storage or functions, whatever. So let's have a static let of categories. That is categories. And then let's duplicate this and change this to items. Okay, so now we are going to have this. Also, I don't know, make sure that you check out my YouTube channel, well, not the YouTube channel, yeah, of course the YouTube channel, the YouTube video on how to use the MVC pattern with SwiftUI. Basically, it's model, view, and the controller. So let's create our controller right over here. It will be a Swift file, and let's call it app controller. There we go. Let's create that. And right over here, let's import Firebase Firestore. Yeah, I think that will be just fine for now. Oh, and also let's import SwiftUI, of course. Why do we need to import SwiftUI? Well, because this will be an observable class of app controller. Yeah, it's basically like the observable object, but it's at observable. So now what we want to do is just add this to our project. We are going to create that on the app file. So state private var app controller equals app controller. There we go. And now I'm just going to add this as an environment, not environment object, but environment. So app controller right over there. That's because now I can just access it, and I'm just going to access it as an at environment app controller dot self private var app controller. Okay, and yeah, basically that's our content view, and we are going to have also an items view. So let's have the new file, Swift UI view, next items view. Let's create that, and yeah, we also are going to need this app controller, so we have all of our functions and variables available for us to use on our views. While we are here, let's just rename this, refactor, rename to the categories view. So not content view, but categories view. There we go. And now it's time to add the categories. So what we are going to do is just have a variable of categories of type array of category. And by default, it will be an empty string. And also, while we are here, let's just have the items, and that will be an array of items. This will be populated later. I'm just going to have the functions right over here. So what we are going to do is just list them out. So instead of the standard VStack, we're going to have a list, and we are going to have a for each for our app controllers dot categories for this time. And we are going to have a category, come on, category, there we go, category in. And we are going to have, well, let's just navigate. So we are going to have a navigation link with a destination, and the label, let's just have just simple text, the categories dot, let's just go with the title, that random string. This is an optional, so we just need to have a default value for it. And yeah, also let's make this, it's a long string, so let's have a line limit of 1. We don't really care, just going to add them over there. So the navigation link will have will go to the items view, which also needs to know the category. So we are going to have a category of type category. Therefore, we are just going to have here a an items view, an items view with a category, and just going to pass that further down. Okay, yeah, basically that's kind of the minimum that we need. So let me just copy this out and paste it also in here. Now, instead of categories, we are going to have the items. So item, and we are not going to navigate away. We are just going to have a simple text right over here. Okay, and we're just going to have the item. Let's copy that out. Title, line limit. Yeah, that's fine. Let's remove the preview provider because yeah, I don't want to set up the category on the preview, not to waste time. Okay. So we are also going to need to set this up inside a navigation stack so we can navigate. There we go. Let's hit Control I right over there. And on the categories view, let's just have maybe a navigation title of categories. Categories. And also navigation title on the items view. And I'm just going to use the categories title. Why not? So let's just have here the category dot title, otherwise empty string. Great. So that's fine. We have set all of this up, but what's the whole point of this idea of this video? Well, we are going to save a new item, and we are going to also count the items for that particular category. Therefore, the category view model needs a new variable, and var, and that is items count, and that will be an optional int. And yeah, let's just add set its default value as let's see, items count of type int optional equals 0, and let's add also the self dot items count equals items count. Okay, so when we are creating, it will just have. We are going to bump this up when we are creating an item. Great. Therefore, in the categories view, we are going to also display that count. So let's just have a vstack over here, just a simple vstack, and we're going to have a new text, and that will have the categories. Well, this is an int, so therefore we need to transform it into a string. So category dot items count, default value would be a 0. And yeah, maybe let's just have count. That's it. And then foreground style of secondary, font of caption, and yeah, maybe let's just make it also bold. Yeah, so this is really fine. This is great. We have set up our views. Now, all we have to do is create all of these functions for Firebase, most particularly for Firestore, to make all of these changes. And I'm just going to have just the minimum. So we are just going to create a category and create items. Of course, feel free to check out the link in the description for the whole playlist where I also talk about the CRUD operations with Firestore. It's an in-depth tutorial. So what I'm going to do is just create a toolbar, and let's have a toolbar item. So toolbar item placement, primary action on the iPhone, that's on the top right. And let's have a button with an action and a label. The action, well, we are going to get to that. For the label, let's just have an image with a system size. Where we go? Where is the system name, not system size, of plus? There we go. Now, we want to create a category, and that is going to be done inside the app controller. You know, we want to have separation of cursors. So let's create a function called the create category, something like that. And I think this will be an asynchronous function, so async and throws. But we will see. Usually I just remove the async if that is the case. Otherwise, a throwing function because I want to handle the errors on the view. So creating a category. How are we going to create a category? Well, let's not just pass along any. We are going to create the actual new category right over here. So let category. Of course, if you are creating, a valid project, then this would be the whole elements of this new object will be created on the category view. Therefore, it will be passed along to the app controller. So let's just have a category, and yeah, I just had that custom initializer, created an initializer, so I can just do all of this really easily. Now, next we need the reference. That's firestore.collection, and then I'm going to use the path that I have created, so no more typos, categories, and I'm going to create a document. Okay, document, but I need to store also the UID of this document inside a category. So this will be actually a var, because now I want to set the category's UID. So I say category dot UID equals the references document ID, which is really tricky, really nice, by the way. Now that I have set up the category, I want to save it. So I just say again, try await. Maybe this is not an await, but let's just see, try await. I say reference dot set data, and scroll, just go all the way down to the one with from, because that needs an encodable, and because our category model is codable, this will be just fine. So we are just going to say category, and yes, so it's not asynchronous, so we can remove the async functionality right over there. This is how we create a new category. Let's link it to the view. So we are going to have do and a catch statement. Let me just move this a little bit up. Do catch, and then let's just print out the errors, localized description. Yeah, make sure that you check out the other playlist that is before this one about how to handle all of this error handling with an alert controller, which is really, really nice. Okay, so we are going to have try app controller dot create category, and that's it. It's really, really fun. It's just going to create us a category. Now let me just move this and add it into the items view also. So now we are going to have also a plus, but we are not going to create a category. We want to create an item. So create item, and we are going to pass along the category. So I just have this category. Okay, so let's create this function in the app controller, a new function, item, and it needs a category of type category. Again, I'm going to add asynchronous throwing function. Most probably it will be an asynchronous throwing function right over there. And therefore we want to try await and put all of this into a task. Okay, now everything should be fine. And let's just, before I get to the whole point of this tutorial, and that is this create item, which we are going to use with batch rise. Let's just test this out. Let's just see if we even get to create a category. Okay, let's just see. And also, of course, we need to fetch the categories and the items, but we are going to get there soon also. So let's build it run. Let's create a category. Okay, that's fine. Let's see if something was added to our database. So I'm going to reload this page. And here we go. We have the categories. and we are storing the UUID and then the title and the items count. 0 this is what we expected. Now let's just fetch them, and the easiest way of fetching the categories is to just, first of all, let's import here Firebase Firestore. Let's have a listener. So at Firestore query, and we need a collection of predicates. Well, we don't really care about the predicates, the animation. We're just going to give the collection path, and that is the path dot firestore dot categories, and this will be a private var categories. Oh, and therefore we don't need, yes, so let's see, of type categories. So we need to have a categories array. And I believe we also need to set up a default value of empty array, just like that. No, let's see. First query path. What's oh, it's not categories view. It's just a category. There we go. And let's see. Do we need that initializer? No, I don't think we do. There we go. Okay, so yeah, again, now because we are not fetching the categories or the, well, actually, we should fetch the items manually. So all I'm just going to remove here is the category. Yeah, you know, live coding in action. Yeah, this is what you came here for, to see an actual senior developer develop all of these apps. So now I'm just going to say this is the categories. And yeah, let's build and run. And hopefully we are going to be fetched that one category that we created. There we go. Yeah, let's just have alignment right over here. So alignment. Okay, and that is a leading. Build and run once more. There we go. Really nice. And now we can also navigate, and it's in the title right over here, which is great. Okay, so that's fine. That's really nice. Now, yeah, and you learned about the Firestore query. Now on the items view, as you can see here, we have the items. Okay, so from the app controller. So first of all, let's fetch all of the items for this particular a category, and I think, yeah, maybe, yeah, I think I can. We can just have it with the predicates. Let's do that. Let's do it. I didn't prepare to use the Firestore query, but now I can realize that this will be so much fun. So it will be just for even better. So what we are going to do is have a Firestore query. Of course, we do need to import Firebase Firestore. So we have that. Okay, this will be items. And an array of item, of course, items, and then the path is items. Now, this will fetch all of the items. Of course, this is not what we want, so we're going to add some predicates. And you see here we can add acquire predicates. And basically what we need is that is equal to. So yeah, and let me just add that in there, and I'm going to say that the items category UID is equals to the UID that we are going to provide. So unfortunately, we can't access the category right over here. So we're just going to say, let me just grab the property name properly. And currently it's just going to be an empty string. Now, I don't know if this will be crashing or something, but because it's an empty one, it shouldn't basically. But this is kind of the preliminary thing. So now we are not going to actually fetch the query. Instead, when this view appears, we're just going to change the predicate. So on appear, there we go. We're going to say $sign items dot predicates, and we are going to set them up one more time. And yeah, because this is just one, I'm just going to copy this out and then set it up like that. And here, instead of empty string, we are going to say this is the categories UID, otherwise empty. Or rather yet, let's guard against that. So guard let UID equals the categories UID, else we are just going to return, not going to do anything, and then I can just simply add in here UID. Okay, so yeah, we are getting there. I don't know, maybe let's just try this out. It should work in theory that if we just don't provide the actual, oh, it's not in there, the actual predicates, it should, you know, omit it. By the way, command forward slash selected everything and then command forward slash. And then we are just going to set its predicates. Fingers crossed, otherwise we're just going to go with the default predicate. Okay, so now let's build and run and see if it's going to crash at all. Hopefully it will not. Hopefully we will see everything the same. Well, before that, I need to remove the app controller items. Again, a different way of fetching the items, but you know, it's up to you. Anyway, this tutorial is about the batch write, which we are going to get there soon, but yeah. So if we click on here, we are going to create a new item for this category. And we are also going to need to bump up the count. So how to do that? Finally, if you came to this tutorial for the batch write, this is where it is. But I highly recommend, if you are just skipping right over here, take a look at the previous part of the video because it's really important to know how all of this was set up. So we are going to, let me just take a look at my notes right over here. We are going to create, first of all, a batch. So let batch equals firestore.batch. And we are going to add data changes to this batch, and then we are going to commit the batch. Now, you can add three types of data, like creation, deletion, and update. So basically everything that you need in order to, you know, manipulate your database. Today we are going to create an item and then update the category. So let's create the first one, the first part of the batch, and that is creating a new item. First of all, let's create the item. So let item equals, and again, this will be just an item with, yeah, let's just create the item. That will be a var. And then let's add the item dot category UID that comes from the categories dot UID. Now, what about its own UID? Because we still have to add it. We're not going to use this in this particular tutorial, but anyway, we do need to have that. As you can see, we have a UID right over here. It's really handy when we are fetching and referencing stuff throughout our database. So first of all, we need to create an item reference. There will be two references. So instead of just naming it reference, I'm going to call it item reference. And this will be kind of like the reference that we already have, and that is the item reference. This will be under the items. And why not? Let's move all of this down before the reference creation. And then we can just say item dot UID equals item reference dot document ID, and the same stuff, right? Now, instead of setting the data of our item on the reference, we are going to use the batch. And we are basically going to populate the batch with this set data operation. So we're going to try a batch, there we go, set data. And we are going to use for this one for from and for document. Now, from is the actual item. And then for document, that's a document reference, and that is the item reference. So basically, we are just setting the data from that item to the item reference. And that's it. This is just going to be set on the batch. Now, let's create the actual update on the category itself. So first of all, let's create the category reference. So now it will be a little bit trickier. So not just as simple as we have right over here. So let's just make the changes. So this will be our category reference under categories. And now we are not creating a new category. We are actually grabbing a category. Therefore, we need to have its UID. We're going to guard against let. So guard let category UID equals category dot UID else return. Now you see it's really handy that we have those UIDs. And why not just going to add it also here and then right over here. So we are actually getting a reference for that particular category. Now what we want to do is add an update on the badge for this category reference. So in this case, yeah, you could just grab the category and then just, set the data with a merge of true. That will also update it. But because this is going to update one int value, and many people, maybe your database is like many people could reference that, it's better to have an increment on the field value. So yeah, now you're learning also a new thing. So batch dot, as you can see, we can set data, delete data. We are going to have update data. And the fields, yeah, of course, you need to set up the fields. And the field will be, let me just grab it, the items count. Items count. This will, oh, there we go. We want to have the field and then the value. So the value, in this case, we're just going to increment it. Now, there is a way, you could just grab the categories items count and add +1 to it, but that's not good enough because somebody else might also write into that category. A safe way, so everybody could write nearly simultaneously to the same property, key value pair on the database, is to use the field value. So field value dot and go increment. We are going to need here, because this is an int, it's a wrong auto-completion, but this will be an int 64. As you can see, you can also have double, but we are going to have int 64 and then by 1. And for the document, of course, that is the category reference. So let's recap. We create a new item, set the data on the batch that we have created, and then we, let me just move this over, and then we create a new reference for the category that we are going to change or update, and we're just updating the batch again. Now it's time to commit all of this, and then you can have multiple, I believe there is a 200 limit of actions on the batch, which is, insanely large. So try, await, and then batch dot commit. And that's it. Now we have committed our batch. And basically that's it. We are going to create an item and also update the, increment the field value of the items count. So let's see this action. Fingers crossed I did not mess up anything right over here. Let me just see. We have the categories. There we go. Let's just add a plus right over here. And yes, we just fetched this particular item, but let's see if the count also had been updated. There we go. Because this is a listener, we don't have to, manually fetch the new categories. This is so handy, the Firestore query. And then let's just double check on the database. So let me just refresh this. And we have the categories, we have the items count 1, and then the items. There we go. Just so we make sure that everything works as expected, let's add a new category. There we go. That's with 0. Maybe let's add 2 more items right over here, so it should be free. There we go. And let's add a new item right over there. It's really, really nice. Now we have the count. Now, why is this really important? Well, now you don't have to actually fetch all of the items to show the count number on the category for the items count. And let's also double check on the database that everything was added correctly. Of course, it was added because we are fetching, but yeah, we have the 4 items for the 2 categories, and 1 is on the items count and 3 is right over here. Now, if you did like this tutorial and my teaching style, go ahead and check out rebeloper.com/mentoring, where you can escape tutorial hell. It's one-on-one Zoom session. Go ahead and check it out, rebeloper.com/mentoring, and I will see you in the next one.